You notice it first in the quiet, not the dramatic kind, not the kind that slams doors or throws words like glass. It's the quiet that settles like dust on a shelf no one touches anymore. The space beside you in the bed that feels heavier than it should. The phone that stays dark long after you've checked it 3 times. The echo of a conversation that ended without ending. She didn't yell. She didn't beg. She just packed the pieces of herself you never learned how to hold, and she left. And now, the nights stretch out like open wounds you're afraid to look at. You tell yourself it's fine. You tell yourself you're used to distance. You tell yourself you wanted space. But your body knows the truth. Your chest tightens at 2 a.m. Your jaw clenches at the sound of a notification that isn't hers. You pace. You scroll. You replay every unspoken moment like a film reel stuck on the frame before the cut to black. You thought silence was strength. You thought pulling back was control. You didn't realize that what you called independence was just a nervous system bracing for impact. And now, in the absence of her footsteps, you're left with the loudest sound of all. The sound of your own avoidance finally catching up to you. Let's stop pretending you lost her because you didn't try hard enough. You lost her because you made her carry the emotional weight of your retreat. You mistook distance for stability. You called it giving her room. She felt it as abandonment dressed in calm. The brutal truth doesn't come with a warning. It arrives in the quiet aftermath. You didn't push her away with anger. You pushed her away with absence. With the slow, steady withdrawal of your presence. With the way you flinched when she leaned in. With the way you offered logic when she needed warmth. You built walls to protect yourself, but forgot that walls don't just keep danger out. They keep connection out too. And she didn't leave because she stopped caring. She left because caring became too heavy in the space you refused to occupy. You thought you were being strong by staying detached. But detachment without grounding isn't strength. It's survival wearing a mask. And survival doesn't make room for love. It only makes room for exhaustion. Your nervous system learned this long before you did. Somewhere along the line, intimacy stopped feeling like safety and started feeling like exposure. The moment closeness deepened, the amygdala sounded an alarm. Not because you were in danger, because your brain remembered a time when closeness meant losing control. When vulnerability meant getting hurt. When staying open meant being left. So cortisol spiked. Your breath shortened. Your muscles tightened. Your body prepared for a threat that wasn't in the room, but lived in the memory. Dopamine, the quiet chemical of anticipation and reward, began to drop the moment connection demanded surrender. Your system wasn't rejecting her. It was rejecting the feeling of being known. And when the nervous system reads intimacy as threat, it doesn't argue. It retreats. It pulls back. It goes quiet. It tells you you need space when what it really needs is regulation. You didn't choose to shut down. Your biology did. And biology doesn't care about your intentions. It only cares about survival. So you stepped back. You cooled off. You told yourself it was temporary. But temporary withdrawal becomes permanent distance when you don't learn how to come back. She didn't stop loving you because you gave her reason to. She stopped believing she could reach you. And that's the difference. The love didn't vanish. It suffocated under the weight of unregulated tension. Every time she reached out, your nervous system braced. Every time she asked for clarity, your mind went quiet. Every time she showed you her softness, you handed her your armor. You thought you were protecting the relationship by keeping it light, but light isn't the same as safe. Safety isn't built on avoiding friction. It's built on surviving it together. She didn't leave because you were flawed. She left because the emotional load became unshareable. Carrying your silence became heavier than carrying her own grief. And when a woman realizes that her presence is treated like a demand rather than a gift, she stops asking to be let in. She starts packing to leave. Not out of spite, out of self-preservation. Her nervous system finally did what yours should have done years ago. It recognized a loop it couldn't survive, and it stepped out. But here's what you've never been told. What you pull back from isn't her. It's the part of yourself you're still afraid to meet. The avoidant pattern isn't a personality flaw. It's a protective rhythm, a dance your body learned to keep you from drowning in old pain. And the only way to change the rhythm isn't to force yourself closer. It's to stop running from the quiet. That's where the real work lives. Not in chasing, not in fixing, not in grand gestures or perfectly timed apologies. The pivot point is non-reactive grounding. Not the cold silence of punishment, not the strategic distance of games, the kind of quiet that doesn't beg, doesn't collapse, doesn't perform. The kind of stillness that says, I am here, even when it hurts, even when it's hard, even when my nervous system is screaming to flee. Non-reactive grounding is the moment you feel the trigger rise and you don't follow it into old behavior. You feel the cortisol spike and you don't let it dictate your words. You feel the urge to withdraw and you stay present with yourself instead. You stop outsourcing your regulation to her presence and you start building it from within. Watch what happens in your mind when you finally stop reacting. The first few hours are brutal. You'll want to reach out. You'll want to explain. You'll want to soften the edges with words that sound like care but taste like panic. Don't. Let the urge rise. Let it peak. Let it pass. Your brain will tell you this is the moment to fix it. It isn't. This is the moment to hold yourself. You'll lie awake tracing the ghost of her voice. You'll replay the last conversation like it holds a code you missed. It doesn't. It holds your own reflection. You'll notice how your hands shake when the room gets too quiet, how your breath catches when a memory surfaces uninvited, how your chest aches with a kind of hunger you've spent years calling independence. This isn't weakness. This is your nervous system finally admitting it misses co-regulation. Now watch what happens on her side. She expects the old pattern, the late message, the half apology, the quiet return disguised as normalcy. But it doesn't come. And at first she feels relief. The pressure lifts. The weight you unknowingly handed her disappears. She sleeps through the night. She laughs without scanning the room. She tells herself she's free. But freedom without closure is just suspended grief. And grief doesn't stay quiet forever. It circles back. She starts noticing the absence of your noise, the missing check-in, the empty space where your reassurance used to be. She remembers how your silence used to feel heavy, but now it feels like distance she chose to walk through. And distance, once chosen, begins to echo. She starts wondering if you're okay. Not because she wants to fix you. But don't confuse this shift with permission to break the pattern. This is where most of you fail. You feel her attention returning. You sense the space opening. And the old nervous system screams, "Now! Send the message! Make the move! Reclaim the ground!" Don't. If you slip back into anxious pursuit, you reset the entire cycle. You prove her nervous system right. You become the storm she learned to navigate by leaving. This isn't about timing her return. This is about proving to yourself that you no longer need to chase to feel real. The warning isn't poetic. It's physiological. One reactive message floods your system with cortisol again. The nights will change. Not because she comes back, because you finally stay. You stop treating your own presence like a temporary shelter. You stop outsourcing your worth to her attention. You stop believing that love means surviving someone else's absence at the cost of your own. You learn to breathe through the trigger. You learn to sit with the ache without making it someone else's responsibility to fix. You learn that independence isn't built on pushing people away. It's built on knowing how to hold yourself when they do.